Hey everybody, welcome to Drive Through Review 468. Today we're going to take a look at Modern Art, the card game. Now this has taken on different shapes and different forms. I am holding in front of you probably my least favorite component version of this game. Now there was a Modern Art auction game, or I guess that was originally called a board game. And now there's also like Master's Gallery, I believe, is the other implementation of this, and it's exactly the same rules, but actually has real art. I believe from like Van Gogh and Rembrandt and stuff. This is all fake art and I think meant to look bad. Now what this is players have a hand of cards, and every turn you're playing a card in front of you, and you may or may not take a special action with that card. You might just be putting an artist in front of you with one of the cards. And then as the round goes on, once there is 6 or 5, depending on the number of players, of a particular artist out on the board total. So if I put out like the 6, what are the artist names here? The 6, Carl Gitter, and that's the 6th one out, that will end the round, and then we're going to count how many artists are out there and then score. And then any artists that score, let's say in round 1, might possibly score again later in later rounds, but they're going to retain kind of the point value that they were worth if they scored in earlier rounds. So it's pretty interesting. So let's take a look at how it plays, and I'll tell you what I think of it. Okay, here are all the components you get in a game of Modern Art. You can see here we have a big old deck of these different cards, and these are paintings and stuff from different artists. My one gripe about this, and I shouldn't complain because I actually got this game for free at BGG-Con as one of like the door prizes or whatever, is you can see all of the Carl Gitter cards are the exact same. All the Kristen P cards are the exact same art. That annoys me. So I would recommend off the bat to go get the Master's Gallery edition, because I believe all the art on the cards is different. Now this reminds me of the edition of Modern Art, the auction game that I used to own. It has the same artist names and the same styles of art, but that one had different, art on all the cards. So anyway, that sort of complaint aside, let's take a look here. So these are the cards you're going to be dealt in play. You've got some player aid cards here, which you won't need after about 2 seconds. And this shows you all the different special abilities. Some of these cards that you play are going to have special actions. So if you play a card with a square, it allows you to draw a card. If you play a card with an equal sign, you can immediately play a second card of that color, and so on. So I'll talk about that more in a minute. And then you have these sort of marker cards here. And you can see here's light metal, and here's the designer, Dr. Rainer Knizia. And this tells you that there are 17 yellow cards, or 17 light metal cards in the deck. All the way up here to crypto, and you can see there's 21 of these brown cards in the deck. So as I said in the intro, players will get dealt a certain number of cards based on the player count, and on your turn you simply play a card, and that's it. And if you play a card with a special action, you can see this one has a crooked equal sign, so maybe I'll play that. And what that is then I can take another card, doesn't matter what it is, put it face down. So I put another card out here, nobody knows what it is, all secretive like. And let's see, I can play this card here, like I said, the square. This allows me to then draw a card into my hand. And what else do we have here? We have this card here. If you play one of these, you can see some of these don't have anything, you just put them out. But this one has a little sort of 4 square on it. And what that does is everybody, when I play that, takes a card from their hand, face down, and then everybody reveals at the same time a card of any color they choose. The last two here, you see this one is sort of a not crooked equal sign. If I play this, and then I can play a matching card along with it. And then finally this one here, if it has a 2 on it, I can play it. Then I take one of these black 2 tokens, and I can put it on any of the different arts here. So this is a Yoko, and maybe I could go ahead and put it on Yoko, or I could put it on the Kristen P, and that's going to increase the value of that. So each round you're going to get a different number of cards. In the last round, depending on the number of players, you actually won't be dealt any cards. You'll have to carry over with the card you had in the previous round. At the start of each round, you're going to flip a card off the top of the deck. In this case, it's Yoko, and kind of add that to the side. So that's going to sort of initiate and seed one card of that artist. So we're already going to have one Yoko. And remember, when we play, we're going to go until there are 6, or in the case of a 2-player game, 5 of a single artist somewhere on the board. So now at this point, let's just say these are all my cards, but there's other artist cards out here. So maybe we have 2 purples out here from the other player. So now we've got a total of 3. We've got 3 greens. Maybe this is his card, and another yellow, and let's say I play a brown. I'm really doubling down a brown. There's 5, and then another player plays a brown card there, and that will trigger the end of the round. So whoever plays the 6th card of a given artist, that'll trigger the end of the round. Then you're going to look across all of the table there and see whoever has the most cards out. In this case, it would be brown. So we'll go ahead and put a 3 underneath him because he's got the most. And let's say second most was green, and then let's say yellow and purple here were tied. They both had, let's say, 4 cards out. Well, in that case, the yellow will break the tie because it has a lower number here because there's less cards of that artist in the deck. So you're going to put that there. And then you're going to need to track scoring on an app or with pencil and paper there. Then you're going to count how many cards you have of the artist that scored. So this purple card, worthless, discard it. And then you're also going to count here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say miraculously I had 5 browns. I would get 5 times 3, that would be 15. You'd count the number of greens you had, multiply it by 2, and then 1. Now before you actually do that, any cards that are face down, I should have said, are revealed and added to the total. So this could be a little bit different based on the face down cards. And then right before you score, each player is going to have some cards in their hand. They can take 1 card of a card that is matching something that has just scored this round. So if I had an extra brown in here, I could throw that out. Now you can only do that if you've already played a brown that round. If you hadn't played a brown yet, you can't just throw one down. You've got to already have committed a card of that color. So I could do 1 brown, 1 green in this case, and then a yellow because I'd played all 3 of those. And you add those to your score and add it up. Then you go ahead and plate the chips and put them on these cards here. And then you're going to deal out a certain number of cards depending on which round it is. There's a nice little table here in the back of the rule book. So you can see in a 4-player game, we're going to deal 4 cards, and then 0 cards in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th rounds. And then you start playing again until you have 6 cards available. And again, of course, you'll flip over another card to seed that artist for that round. And then let's say, in this case, green had the most. We ended there with 6 of those, and then maybe 2 yellow was second place, and then the purple ones scored as well. So in this case, if you have green cards, you can see green previously scored. Well, you're actually going to get not just 3, but 5 points because it scored in a previous round. So they're going to definitely go up in value. However, the brown one that scored last round didn't score at all. Nobody played any brown. So this isn't going to score. So those 3 points there, if you had like, say, 1 brown card, I'm not going to score anything. So you're going to do those, and then we'll move the chips, and then you'll play a 3rd and a 4th round. So the value of these artists is going to go up throughout the game, and then whoever has the most points is the winner at the end of the 4th round. Okay, so that is a Modern Art, the card game. I enjoy this game. It is a interesting kind of filler, and I put it in sort of that for sale, no thanks arena, where there's not really a lot to the game, but there is some interesting decision making because, like I said during the walkthrough, the value of some of the artists is going to go up over the course of multiple rounds. So there's a little bit of decision making in terms of, okay, do I hold this card back? You know, do I want to wait a little bit? Maybe that will score some points in the 1st round, and then I can try to, get a lot of these out in the later rounds, the 3rd and 4th round, where it's going to be worth more than just, 3 or 2 points. It might be worth 5 or 8 points at that point. So that's an interesting kind of thought there. And that really comes into play in that whole little phase at the end when you're scoring, if you add additional cards to the scoring. So let's say yellow does score first in the 1st round. They get 3 points, and I've got 2 yellow cards. Do I really want to add one just to get 3 points or even 1? Or do I want to wait, and maybe there's some more yellow cards that get dealt out, so people try to jump on that, and then I get them out, and like I said, in the 3rd or 4th round, and get 8 points apiece instead of 3. So that's interesting. I have played this, I think, at every player count. I know I played it with 2 and 5. We played this a whole bunch over the last month or so, but it works at all different player counts. I'll just say it. I think maybe I didn't play with 3 or something, but I don't remember. No, I did play with 3. Anyway, sorry. So it does play okay with 2 players. It's actually kind of interesting to play it with 2 players. I think I definitely like it more with more players. I don't know. It's just a filler game, so I don't really think too hard on which is the player count that's best. But like I said, it's kind of a nice, light, easy, for sale, no thanks style game. I think this would be a good game. Those 2 games are good for kind of like new players that are kind of getting into more Euro-y strategy kinds of games. I think this is a nice kind of alternative to that. It's a kind of different sensibility than those two games. So yeah, so it's a cool game. I guess the only other thing I really wanted to mention was the Modern Art, the auction game. I used to really like that game and played it for years. And back, oh gosh, over 10 years ago, we played it a lot. And then I brought it out again, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And kind of was like, oh yeah, this is still fun. And then for some reason, something clicked in me and I was like, I hate this game. So yeah, this has the same kind of feel of it where you're kind of manipulating the demand and the supply artificially of these artists, which is kind of an interesting theme and sort of a critique of modern art and how stupid the buying and selling of art has been over the last 100 years probably. So this has those same qualities without kind of the crazy auction stuff. Because in that game, you'd put out cards, and it was a little different, but you put out cards and you do different kinds of auctions based on the cards that you put out with the different abilities. And when you won, an auction, you paid the player that auctioned the cards up. And the value thing was very similar, round to round. Somebody that scored one round may not score the following round, and then you accrued the value, and that was kind of like a payout of money that happened every round in that case. That I still really like that aspect of it, but the problem was you could get people kind of crazy bidding where they wouldn't make very much money off of the bid because maybe they bid for a guy and then it comes back and they get like, $2,000 profit each, but then the person that they paid for the painting gets like way much, and now they have all the money in the world and they can just win the game and beat everybody up with it. So that annoyed me. That's not really a fault of the game though, but I just don't like playing it. But this has that same kind of vibe though, this in terms of the theme and the kind of manipulation aspect of it. But I would recommend this one, I think, for folks that were looking kind of like an alternative game to some of the standard fillers that, a lot of people mention. So take a look at it. Thanks.